Hello, welcome to Life Talk for October 29th, 2019. Boy, this year is flying by, as they all do when you get older. But anyway, I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and you're watching Life Talk. I'm joined here by my daughter, Sheila.
Hello.
One of the usual suspects. The other usual suspect, your co-conspirator, Renee, is out today, but she should be back next week. Anyway.
And Ernie.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I forgot to mention Ernie, the frilled neck Republican, is back this week, and he's in fine form, as he always is. Anyway, lots of interesting things going on right now. Well, there's not a ton of really big news, but there's a ton of little news. Although this one, to me, is pretty cool. This weekend, we just learned this morning that Joe Biden was denied communion this weekend when he sought communion at a church in Florence, South Carolina, St. Anthony Catholic Church. Joe Biden claims to be a Catholic, but of course we all know he's not. He was denied communion by Father Robert E. Morey, who said his position on abortion exempts him from the ability to receive communion in the Catholic Church.
There's a lot of other things that I would say exempt him from receiving communion, but abortion being the big one.
That's the one that, and I want to, we often are critical here about the church, and rightly so. The church can end this thing anytime it chooses to do so. It just chooses not to.
Both Protestant and Catholic.
But when someone comes along like this Father Morey, we need to support him and give him props for that.
I mean, in the past, Nancy Pelosi has been denied communion.
Right.
The thing is, they need to be denied communion every single time.
Every single time.
Because they're not Christians.
They're not Christians. They're not Catholics. They're heretics.
You can't support abortion and be a Christian.
No, we've talked about that many times. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, a judge there has blocked a law from going into effect that was passed by the legislature that says women who take chemical abortions, RU46 or whatever, that it may not be too late for them to reverse it. Now, this judge has blocked this and said that women can't be told this before they or while they're having an abortion. And yet we know for a fact that it's absolutely true. There are many, many pictures out there of babies who were born to women who changed their mind. There is a protocol developed by physicians to reverse the effects of these abortion pills, these abortion poison drugs. And yet this judge says, no, women don't need to be told that. They don't need to know that.
Well, of course, anything to keep abortion going.
That's right.
Didn't one of the doctors that invented the protocol and the medicine to reverse, wasn't he a guest on Live Talk one time?
Yeah, we had him on Live Talk here one time.
Yeah.
And it's a very proven medical procedure now. There's lots of babies out there that have been born after the woman took the abortion pill. And yet the abortion lobby and their sycophants in the judiciary say, no, women don't need to be told that. And they don't need to have that information. Just let them operate in the dark. Now, how many women out there who won't be told this information but have changed their mind since they took it will now not know this and just go forward with it?
They'll say, oh, it's too late, or,
Couldn't do anything about it. Yep. Right.
I mean, anything for them to keep money in their pockets
Money
and
flowing in.
to keep the babies dead.
Right.
That's their goal.
That's the ultimate goal. We've also seen this week a report put out by someone who claims to be pro-life that the pro-life gains in America have been exaggerated. And they got all these graphs and charts that seem to suggest that.
But where does that data come from?
The Alan Guttmacher Institute.
Well, there you go. Of course they're going to be saying that because they're the research arm of Planned Parenthood.
Right.
So why should we believe any of the data that comes out from them? They're going to...
I think that the raw data they put out is probably accurate. But to suggest that the pro-life movement, and I put a new piece out called The Pact that we put in a recent mailing that we did, and it's now online, or if somebody wants a copy of it, they can contact us about it. And it shows all the gains, but I'll just use just one example here. In 1991 and 1992, the early 90s, The abortion rate in America was 1.7 million a year. There were over 2,100 freestanding abortion clinics in the United States at that time. Today, there are less than 550 freestanding abortion clinics. The abortion rate now is down well under 1 million a year. 800,000 babies or 600,000 or whatever is still an absolute and utter disgrace.
Well, of course, every single one of those lives matters.
Right. But the fact is that at a time when our population is only about 80% of what it was in the early 90s, we're doing more than 2,000 fewer abortions per day than we were doing then. And for you to come out here and say that these gains have been exaggerated, or that I've heard people say they don't even exist. There's just as many abortions now, and that's an absolute lie. But to downplay this or minimize it is to say that those 2,000 or 3,000 babies that are being saved don't matter.
Yeah, and I mean, they say that what's actually happening is that, yes, abortion clinics are closing, but instead of it being medical abortions, now it's chemical abortions. Well, some of those are, but not all of those. It's not 100% replacement rate on that.
And also let's remember that in 1992, when the abortion rate was 1.7 million, there were a ton of chemical abortions going on right then.
Right.
Through birth control pills and IUDs and other things that act as abortifacients. So you can't compare apples and oranges in this deal. You got to compare apples to apples. And when you do that, there is no way to deny that the pro-life movement has made tremendous gains. We're not where we want to be. No. We're not where we need to be. But to suggest that we haven't made progress is just simply a bald-faced lie.
And every single one of a baby that is saved, every single one of those babies, I would say it's a victory in and of itself.
Baby.
Baby A over here, is living because of pro-life efforts. That's a victory. Right. Now, is the war won? No. But that personal battle right there is won.
It's won, right. Yeah. With every one of them. And our attitude should be that we would have done what we've done over the last 40-something years to save one baby.
Yeah.
That should be our attitude. Yeah. Because we all agree that Jesus went to the cross and he would have done it to save one of us.
Yeah.
Well, then why don't we apply that standard to the unborn child?
Yeah.
And so anyway.
And talking about Jesus, I mean, every single one of those babies that is saved matters to God.
Absolutely.
And so God, sees efforts in saving that one baby, and, that he's, happy that baby is still alive.
Right. Now, we also know that recently about 900 death camps in America lost their federal funding thanks to a rule that was put out by Donald Trump. And now, if everything that the pro-aborts have said is true, which we know they're lying through their teeth, then we ought to be starting to hear reports very shortly of women dropping dead in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't have any place to go for health care.
Yeah.
Which, of course, we know is a lie. We've seen it right here in Texas when all these death camps closed down. We weren't stepping over the dead bodies of women in the streets. But anyway, this is a good thing. And I attended a function not long ago where I was a speaker, and someone there, another speaker, this woman from Dallas, brought up a point that I thought was really interesting, and it was about Donald Trump. And she was getting a lot of criticism because this is a black minister, this lady. And she said she's getting a lot of criticism because she supports Donald Trump. And some people in her church are even saying, look, he's an awful person. He said this thing, he's done this. And, she brought up the point. She said, maybe God is using Donald Trump because he's done these things.
Yeah.
Because when God works to stop this Holocaust, and he eventually will, let's say he works through Donald Trump, then God will get the credit for it, not Donald Trump. We won't be looking out there and saying, well, yeah, Donald Trump did all those things. He was a hardcore pro-lifer, and he'd been pro-life all his life.
We won't be saying, oh, abortion was stopped because of Donald Trump.
Right.
No.
It's just that God worked through Donald Trump as an instrument, and I think that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Because he's the most pro-life president. He's done more for the pro-life
Yeah.
cause than any other president we've ever had, including Ronald Reagan. And is he perfect? No. Is he even is he even the kind of person I might want to hang out with? I don't know. Everything I've heard says that everybody says he's got a great sense of humor and he's fun to be around. And so I don't know. My suspicion is he's not. But that doesn't matter. If God uses him as an instrument to stop abortion, that's the role that Trump plays.
Yep.
Meanwhile, and we got another subject we're going to be talking about here soon after robots. James Comey, this disgraced head of the FBI, who's now been shown to be a pathological liar and turned the FBI into basically an instrument of the Clinton administration.
Well, the FBI,
Clinton.
the intelligence in America has been compromised for a long time now. So.
Yes, it has, and we've seen personal experiences. We've had personal experiences right here at Life Dynamics with that, and it's a sad situation. Last night I was watching something on the news. There's a guy that's done some research, and he's putting out a book on this now, that says the Steele dossier that they used to get a FISA warrant, which was illegal, but the Steele dossier might have actually been written not by Steele, but by the FBI. And it kind of explains why when they asked Steele about it, he didn't seem to know a whole lot about it. His information on it seemed to be kind of spotty. Maybe it's because he didn't write it. Maybe the FBI did. If that turns out to be true, then that proves what we've been saying all along. This was a coup. What's been going on here is a coup against Trump, operated out of the Justice Department, out of the FBI, and apparently now out of the State Department. And this has been going on for decades.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know me. I believe in conspiracy theories, and I am a proponent. No. I am a proponent of the New World Order. I believe that a New World Order does exist, and I believe that this is just part of it. And I believe...
But you're not a proponent of the New World Order.
Well, no, I mean, the theory that there is one.
Right.
And I believe that abortion is part of it,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and all of that. And
There's no doubt about that. I mean, when you heard George Bush use those terms.
yeah, the George Bush Senior, the late
41.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, when he said, we're in a New World Order, that's one world government.
Yeah.
Is what he was talking about.
And he was the first U.S. president to use those terms.
Right. So there's no doubt that this stuff exists. But the other night at the Washington Nationals in the World Series, Trump was there. And he got roundly booed
Oh, yeah.
by the Washington crowd. This is a disgrace.
Yeah.
These people are a disgrace to the human race.
Well, and they were saying, lock him up, lock him up. Lock him up over what?
For what? What's the crime?
If you're going to say lock him up, why not say lock up, Hillary Clinton? She needs to be locked up for
Well,
sure.
we can at least point to crimes that
Yeah.
we know she committed. We can't point to any crimes that we think.
Yeah, where were they saying that with Obama,
Right.
impeachment for him?
But here's the thing. In the last election in 2016, among the voters in the Washington, D.C. area, Trump got 4% of that vote. And, we just came back from D.C. And one of the things that you see down there is that there's this attitude in Washington, D.C., and in parts of Maryland and Northern Virginia and that area around D.C., that the Democrats are the ruling party.
Yeah.
And when there's a Republican in office, he's an interloper. He's not supposed to be there. And you see that attitude very broadly. And when these people boo the President of the United States at a baseball game, if that were a rally, if Trump were there for a rally, okay, boo him if you want to.
Yeah.
You're a degenerate, but if that's what you want to do. But he's sitting there to watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
But what do you expect in an area where only 4% of the people voted for him, and they think he doesn't belong there, and they think he's an interloper?
Well, I mean, I take it a step further. Nowadays, the default position is posted as Democrat. The default position is supposed to be socialism.
Right.
The default position is supposed to be, yes, I support a woman's choice. All these things now are expected to be the default position in our society.
Right. And if you're doing something other than that, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But and I think what people need to understand, and I'll get back to Comey here in just a second, what people need to understand is when they were booing Trump, they were booing every person that voted for him.
Yeah.
Because they think that this world is bi-coastal. There's a East Coast and there's a West Coast. Those are the ruling class. Those are the smart people. Those are the intelligent people. Those are the decent people. Those are the moral people. In the flyover states, it's a bunch of rednecks and racist and homophobes and all this other garbage that they heap on Trump. They're not heaping it on Trump. They're heaping it on all the people that are not on those coasts. That's what's happening.
And not even for people that voted for him necessarily, but people that, support his policies, some of his policies, and that includes abortion.
Well, when Obama said,
abortion.
when Obama was talking about people in the flyover states, and he said these are people that cling to their guns and their Bibles, he didn't mean that as a compliment.
No.
He meant this is the kind of rednecks that we have to deal with, and the decent, smart people live on the coast.
Yeah.
And so we just fly over those other people. And Trump upset the apple cart. And he got booed there because he's upsetting the apple cart, and those people are in the apple cart, those people that booed him. Now, back to Comey for a minute. He says now that if Trump is reelected, he's moving to New Zealand.
Have fun.
I say don't let the door hit you in the apple.
Well, don't move to New Zealand. That's a beautiful country. It's
Right.
Why don't you move to Canada with your other people that?
Well,
you
I was going to
said-
ask you, Sheila, back before the 2016 elections, there were something like over 40 starlets and
celebrities.
celebrities and nitwits out in Hollywood, and a few others sprinkled around the right side coast, that said if Trump was elected, they were moving to Canada. I haven't heard of one of these people moving.
No.
Why are they still here?
No.
Why don't they go?
Yeah.
And before we take the robots, I want to mention one other thing that I think is interesting here, is when these lefties start talking about if so-and-so's elected, you heard that with Trump and you heard it with Bush and you heard it with Reagan years ago. If he's elected, I'm moving to Canada. I've never heard one of these people say, if he's elected, I'm moving to Mexico.
Yeah.
There is an implied racism here.
Well, yeah,
They're saying, I'm going to go into a nice white country. I'm not going to Mexico. I'm not going to move to Africa. I'm moving to Canada.
Or why don't they move to one of those socialist countries that
Sweden, Finland, whatever. They don't want to live under the thing that they want to inflict on everybody else. They don't want to live under that system. But anyway, again, I'm still waiting for the first time one of these people say, if so-and-so is elected, I'm moving to Mexico.
No.
It ain't happening.
No, of course not.
They're not even going to move to Canada.
No.
They keep promising this, and then they back out. We ought to sue them for breach of promise. You promised us you'd go, and you're still here.
Well, I don't think we could sue them over that.
Well, we
but
ought to try.
we need to hold their feet to the fire. Say,
Right.
when are you going to go?
When are you leaving? Have you bought a house? Is your house up for sale?
Yep.
It's the hypocrisy of these people is boundless, and their willingness to lie through their teeth. To promise us something like that, it's like promising to take your kid to Disney World and then saying, "Oh no, we're not going to Disney World. You're not going.
Yeah.
We're going to go, but you're not going." Yeah. Anyway, let's take a moment out for robots, and when we come back, I think we've got a really interesting thing to talk about.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as robots. This is how they think.
Pro-lifers say taxpayer money shouldn't be used to pay for abortions. But if a woman is on welfare, I'd rather pay for her abortion than have to pay thousands to raise her kid.
Few issues illustrate the abysmal immorality of the pro-choice mindset better than arguments like this. To see that, imagine that the 2-year-old daughter of a poor family falls into an abandoned well. Authorities quickly calculate that a funeral is far cheaper than a rescue, and even if this girl survives, she will probably be on welfare for the rest of her life anyway. So they decide that the financially responsible thing to do is just flood the well with water. Then, once the child has drowned, her corpse will float to the top where it can be scooped up and buried. And with that, the taxpayers will have saved a bundle. Now, that is obviously a monstrous idea, but it is exactly the same as telling poor women that if they are willing to have their children killed, we are willing to pick up the tab because, in the long run, it will save the rest of us money. However, if America is serious about having a social policy based on the concept that it's cheaper to execute a child than support one, then we should start encouraging poor families to not only kill their unborn children, but their born children as well. Remember, the guiding principle behind this pro-choice argument is saving money. So if we are willing to ignore the biological fact that the unborn children of the poor are living human beings, why should we care that their born children are living human beings? All right. An article came out just a couple of days ago called My Day as an Abortion Care Provider.
Oh, how lovely.
How lovely.
Yeah, that's what I want to spend my day doing.
By Lisa H. Harris. And she talks about how she constantly refers to it as abortion care. There's no such thing as abortion care. This is a term they made up.
Yeah, it's not caring at all.
Why don't you just say abortion?
Or abortion killing.
Whatever, just abortion. Because she knows there's a negative. But abortion care makes it seem nice.
Oh, how lovely.
Anyway, she says she got in this out of her sense of compassion to help women who seek abortion care. There's the term again. And she calls the people that give abortion care caregivers. Now, she says, let me offer you a window into a typical day of my practice in Michigan. She gives a lot of drivel here. I park my car and walk through the bulletproof front door. I always breathe a sigh of relief when I get inside. Now,
Oh, yeah, because people are standing out there trying to shoot her.
she has to run a gauntlet of people with AR-15s.
I'm sure she's wearing a bulletproof vest
Sure
and
she is.
everything.
This is nonsense. I did a study on this some time ago on workplace violence. And when you look at workplace violence, the federal government does not even put abortion provider on the list because it's so rare that there's any violence against these people. They don't even put them on the list. You want to talk about workplace violence, be a divorce attorney.
Yeah.
There's more farmers that get killed in the workplace. There are more hairdressers that get killed in the workplace than there are abortions.
I was going to say post office, but
Well,
yeah.
convenience stores,
Yeah.
convenience store operators. You go down the list, and I've seen the list like the top 50. It's abortion providers not even on that list. It's so incredibly rare. It just almost never happens. Like I said, farmers are more likely to get killed murdered, not accidentally. I'm talking about being murdered on the job. So this is nonsense, but it makes a political point that she wants to make. And she says, I breathe a sigh of relief when I get inside. I wonder if she runs some sort of circular pattern or something, hoping to dodge all the hail of bullets.
No, she breathes a sigh of relief because of pro-lifers and sidewalk counselors who are shouting at her, telling her not to murder babies.
Right.
Well, when she gets inside, she can't hear that. So that's why she really breathes a sigh
As
of
I
relief.
get to my office desk, the health center manager greets me with a warm hello, and the recovery room nurses smile and wave. A counselor asks me whether I'm going to visit my daughter at camp. She's painting this picture like this is she's working at a legitimate, non-controversial facility where everybody kind of loves each other and gets along.
She's trying to make herself be part of the medical community.
And she talks about how the staff counselors are aware of the resources for adoption, and they go over all this with, this is a bald-faced lie.
No.
Then she says, then I turn to my unopened mail. First letter is from a girl named Karen and her boyfriend, Adam. I had performed Karen's abortion a few weeks earlier. She wrote, quote, thank you for your expertise with the surgery. We would like to also thank you for taking the time to make sure Adam was okay. We truly appreciate that you care. I'm going to guarantee you this never happened.
Yeah.
She's lying through her teeth right here. Another one says that she opens another letter and a picture of Jesus falls out. And it says, hello, in friendly Brew handwriting. It is signed by a local physician and a nun. They are worried that my soul is in turmoil because I do abortions. I wish I could reassure them that my soul is okay.
Well, I believe that one actually happening.
It might have happened.
Yeah.
But
And she needs to pay attention to that letter.
she understands that there are moral complexities of abortion, and I stop a developing human being from being born. Then she gets another note from someone named Kendra, who she claims had a life-threatening illness that required her to kill her child. And it says, you saved my life that night. You are my God-sent angel. And that her grandmother, through tears, reassured her that God would understand. Well, if God understood, he could have killed the baby.
Yeah.
God doesn't need your help to kill that baby. He could have had a miscarriage. Anyway, she talks also about one of the patients being 14 years old and another one being 41. But I wonder if she filed the mandatory reporting requirement for a 14-year-old who's pregnant. The only way a 14-year-old girl can be pregnant is if she is the victim of sexual assault.
Yeah.
So did she report that? And I'm going to guarantee you that she did not.
No.
She did not report that. The local authorities ought to be going in saying, I want to see your report on that 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one, we're going to do a perp walk down to the police station. Then she talks about a woman, a mother of 3, who's there to have an abortion, crosses herself as she takes the abortion pill. And another one requests an ultrasound picture of her unborn child that was aborted to put in her memory box.
In her memory box.
In her memory box. And it says, when it comes to abortion, there are 2 seemingly opposite things that are true at the same time. If 2 things are opposite, they cannot both be true at the same time. This woman is lying. Now, the interesting thing here is, and it goes on, and it's just such a collection of rationalizations. She's not trying to convince anybody. She's trying to convince herself. Now, what I want to remind everybody of is that this Lisa Harris, this is not the first article that we've talked about of hers. She wrote one several years ago that we've talked about several times here. She was 18 weeks pregnant with her own child, doing an abortion on a woman who was also 18 weeks pregnant. And she says in the article that she wrote about it, that when she started doing the abortion on this other woman's 18-week baby, her 18-week baby kicked in her womb.
So if it's not a living human being, then what is in her womb kicking?
And not only that, but she said she was crying while this was going on. I'm thinking, wait a minute, why are you crying?
If it's
Don't give me
fine
this
and
garbage.
dandy,
Right.
then
But anyway, in this article, she talks about the fact that when this abortion was done, her 18-week baby was still alive. This other woman's 18-week baby she had killed. The baby's now in pieces. She reassembles the pieces. She said she wanted to see what her baby looked like.
yeah.
This woman is sick.
Well, yeah, of course.
She's an abortionist.
She's evil.
Right. And you know something, this kind of goes to something I've said many, many times in the past, and I will continue to say it. These people are psychopaths.
Yeah.
They're as mentally screwed up as anybody in any mental hospital in this country, any prison, any jail, or whatever. These people are psychopaths.
Not only that, but they're evil.
Yeah, they are. And only a psychopath could write this article. But just a raging psychopath had to write the previous one, and they're both the same person, Lisa Harris. And this woman is sick.
Yeah.
care
I
what
mean,
you say about her.
they know what they're killing.
Well, you've heard me say it a million times in your life, Sheila. The pro-aborts and the pro-lifers know exactly the same things about abortion. There is no mysteries out there. We all know the same things.
And I mean, and with science and technology nowadays, you can't
No.
deny that anymore.
But the point I'm going to make is we all know the same things. The only difference between the pro-choice crowd and the pro-life crowd is the pro-choice crowd doesn't care what they know. This woman is openly admitting that she is a murderer, that she is killing these babies, but she didn't care.
Yeah.
She didn't care one way or the other. Anyway, it just shows you the kind of stuff that we're up against in this battle, and it's really debilitating sometimes to think that there are people in the world like this Lisa Harris. But they're out there. And
Yeah.
our
But
job is to stop them.
and we're and to end abortion 100%. And we talked about the pact earlier, and I encourage anyone who's watching to go to our website, lifedynamics.com, go to our products and look at the pact. It's an encouraging thing to pro-lifers. Of course, we haven't ended every single abortion, which is what we're set out to do, but we have saved a lot of babies.
And they can also read it online. They don't have to
Yeah.
order one if they don't want to. They can
Yeah.
read it online, but we have them available. And we've had a lot of people since it came out buying by the hundreds to hand out at pro-life events and to hand out to their friends and so forth.
Exactly.
And we still have a bunch of them left. So if people want to order them, they can order them from us. But if they don't want to order them, they can at least read it online. And I think it'll be very encouraging for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. You got anything else?
That is it.
You're done. Stick you with a fork. And I guess Rennie will be back next week. Until then, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next Tuesday.